It's slowing down.
Okay.
We're just in like one at a time it's like every 20 seconds now.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second community meeting for the Gilroy Station Area Transit-Oriented Development. We're very glad you're here with us this evening. This is an opportunity to vision the project. My name is Rebecca Garcia. I am actually just one of your facilitators tonight. We're going to stay together as one large group for just a little while before we ask you to select the language channel of your choice. I'd like to introduce you to my co-facilitator. Permítame presentarles a mi compañero residente y co-facilitador de Gilroy, Jorge Mendoza.
Hola a todos, buenas tardes y bienvenidos a nuestra segunda reunión de planeación. Estamos contentos de que se encuentren aquí con nosotros. Como saben, vamos a hablar sobre el proyecto que VTA tiene para nosotros y estaré acompañado de Rebeca haciendo esta plática en inglés. Gracias.
We're here this evening because Valley Transportation Authority, VTA, and the county are considering a new transit-oriented development. We often refer to this as TOD, community at the Gilroy Transit Center on Monterey between 7th and 9th Street. As some of you may recall, we recently held several community meetings in February, one in Spanish and one in English, to gather feedback as to what the community would like to envision at this transit site. So we're here today.
Rebecca,
yes.
Sorry, should I be showing slides at this point?
Yes, Bruce, that would be fabulous. We are on slide 2. Thank you. Okay, so we are here this evening, again, because VTA asked us to come and talk about the new TOD development between 7th and 9th Street on Monterey. This is your opportunity to envision what will be at this transit site. We're here to present some options for site development based on what we heard from the community in February. So tonight we're asking you what your thoughts are around what you would like best out of what is shown to you today. So the focus of tonight's discussion is really on the development, design, and project features.
El objetivo de esta reunión es continuar el trabajo con la comunidad y crear un plan de diseño que traiga vivienda para los trabajadores que sea asequible. Recuerden que hace tiempo tuvimos una reunión en inglés y en español en el mes de febrero. El propósito de la presentación y discusión de esta noche es compartir con ustedes lo que escuchamos de la comunidad en las primeras reuniones y mostrarles algunas ideas de cómo serían los nuevos departamentos y quién podría calificar. Al empezar nuestra reunión, estaremos todos juntos, como lo ven ahora, en inglés y en español, pero después nos vamos a separar para cada uno de nosotros escuchar en el idioma que mejor gustemos. Favor de participar lo más que puedan en esta noche.
Gracias, Jorge. So as we go along here, please type your questions and comments in the chat. I know many of you are familiar with Zoom now, so please use the chat tonight. And we will certainly get to some of your questions during the Q&A session. Feel free to type your question in either Spanish or English.
También, mientras estamos en la plática, si hay alguna cosa interesante que hace que surja alguna pregunta, por favor escríbanla en los comentarios y durante el tiempo de respuestas vamos a contestar algunas de ellas.
Here's a quick map of the site. It is nearly 8 acres. It's owned by VTA. And again, it's on Monterey between 7th and 9th Street near the Gilroy Historic Station.
Aquí miramos un mapa donde se realizará el proyecto de construcción, 7.8 acres en la calle, entre la calle 7 y 9 por la calle Monterrey.
Just so you know what to expect, here's how the agenda will flow tonight. We're going to do some quick introductions, share with you what we heard from the community at our last meeting. Bruce and Ricky from PlaceWorks will review some conceptual options to help us picture the site and what could be. Then we'll have a Q&A session together with Angelica and the team. Then we'll go into breakout rooms, which will be a smaller, more intimate discussion. And most importantly, remember that breakout room is really for you to hear your opinions and feedback and thoughts. So please use it. Then we'll come back together as a large group and do a report back. Lastly, we'll make sure you know what the project's next steps are.
Hablemos ahora un poco de la agenda de esta noche. Me gustaría darles una idea de cómo vamos a llevar a cabo esta reunión para que sepan qué esperar. En un minuto tendrán la oportunidad de seleccionar el canal de inglés o español, donde escucharemos una presentación de Placework sobre el diseño del proyecto. Después de las presentaciones tendremos una sesión de preguntas y respuestas, por lo que mientras estás escuchando la presentación, si tienes alguna pregunta, por favor escríbela en el chat. Después contestaremos algunas de ellas. Luego iremos a grupos pequeños, donde podrán seleccionar la discusión en su idioma preferido, inglés o español. Por último, volveremos a unirnos en un solo grupo. Te guiaremos lo mejor posible durante esta reunión. Recuerda, lo más importante es enfocarnos en el diseño de esta construcción y tus comentarios son muy importantes.
This evening, we have with us the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority. I know many of us think of VTA as managing the bus, light rail, paratransit, but they are much more than that. They are a funding partner. They have their own board. They own land, which is why we're here this evening. They're working to develop the TOD in partnership with the County of Santa Clara. And we also have the PlaceWorks team with us tonight. They are the site development team. So we have lots of folks here from the team.
¿Quién nos invitó aquí esta noche? La Autoridad de Transporte del Valle de Santa Clara, también conocida como VTA. Muchos de nosotros pensamos en el autobús, en el tren ligero o en el servicio a domicilio. Sin embargo, es mucho más. VTA es un socio que ayuda a financiar proyectos y posee terrenos para diferentes tipos de construcción en beneficio de la comunidad.
I'd like to take a moment. Oh, lo siento, Jorge.
También nos acompaña la Oficina del Personal de Vivienda de Apoyo del Condado de Santa Clara y el equipo de Placework, quien presentará algunas ideas gráficas de diseño esta noche.
Bueno, let's take a moment to welcome our elected officials that have joined us this evening. I know a few of you have chosen to speak, I believe. I would like to thank Councilmember Rebecca Amendares for joining us this evening. You will be unmuted. Feel free to address the audience in Spanish or English. Or both.
También nos gustaría tomarnos un momento para dar la bienvenida a nuestros oficiales electos que se han unido a nosotros esta noche e invitarlos a decir algunas palabras en el idioma que se sientan más cómodos.
And
Good
while
evening.
Oh,
Sure, there I am. Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. Gracias por participar en este taller tan importante, especialmente la comunidad latina y la comunidad de clase trabajadora, porque sabemos que nos hace falta viviendas asequibles en nuestra comunidad y esta es una gran oportunidad para ellas. So thank you, everyone, for being here, for participating tonight. I'd like to thank you for offering this opportunity to us, our community. We know, especially our working class folks, really need affordable housing. And so I see this as such an opportunity for us to give our input and help design this, right, with what will be best for our community. So thank you.
gracias, Rebecca. I'd also like to acknowledge Councilmember Carol Marquez, who has joined us, as well as Councilmember Zach Hilton. We also have a VTA Board Director, Vice Mayor for the town of Gilroy, Rob Rennie, who has joined us. And I'd also like to thank the Gilroy staff, the City of Gilroy staff who's joined us and did a really great job with noticing the community. So thank you very much. Hopefully I have not missed anyone. Somebody will let me know if I have. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a quick poll. Part of the community engagement process for us is to really understand who's in the room so we can make sure we're reaching a broad audience. So we're going to do a quick poll. Please know this is totally voluntary and only if you are comfortable, but please take a moment to answer the questions. Remember to scroll down. You should have an option to either answer in English or Spanish. I'll give you a moment to do that.
Parte del proceso de esta participación de hoy de nosotros, la comunidad, es entender quién nos acompaña. Así que vamos a hacer una breve encuesta. Por favor, siéntase libre de contestar o no. Tome algunos minutos para responder a las preguntas de la encuesta. Seleccione la versión inglés o español. Asegúrese de mirar todas las preguntas hacia abajo. Al mismo tiempo, podrán ver los resultados de la encuesta en la pantalla.
While everyone is taking the poll, I'd also like to acknowledge Assembly Member Rivas's staff, Amy, who has joined us this evening as well. Thank you very much. And I believe Cliff is going to run the poll for us. Oh, there it is. Okay, great. So we've asked you to describe yourself. We have quite a few residents here, people who live in Gilroy, combination of renters, home ownerships. We've asked questions about driving, whether you use a bicycle. Thank you all very much. This is really helpful in helping us capture who we've reached tonight and in the last meeting. Lots of residents here this evening. Great.
Recuerden de girar hacia abajo la encuesta y podrán contestar todas las preguntas y al mismo tiempo ir mirando los resultados.
Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, so
I'm going to close the, I'm going to end the poll right now.
oh, thank you, Cliff. All right, so before we dive into the project design, we'd really like to share the themes that we heard from the first meeting. There were definitely some common themes that we heard from both the Spanish and English meeting. The first being a need for housing that is affordable and a need for very low and extremely low income residents. The need to build affordable housing for everyone, including multi-generational families and single adults, and the desire to have a high quality project that strengthens the vitality of downtown. Those were some of the common themes that we heard. In the Spanish-speaking meeting, we heard attendees really wanted more information around eligibility, qualifications, application process. We also heard their desire for a safe outdoor space for children to play and recreation for families, as well as a desire to include community spaces for neighborhood services. In the English meeting, we heard that there was a strong need to provide adequate parking for both transit riders and new projects.
Ahora vamos a escuchar, les vamos a pasar un poquito lo que escuchamos en las dos primeras reuniones. Hubo temas comunes que escuchamos, como Gilroy necesita vivienda asequible para residentes de ingresos muy bajos y extremadamente bajos. Necesidad de construir vivienda asequible para todos, incluyendo familias con muchos miembros o para personas solteras. Diseño de un proyecto de alta calidad que aumente el valor de la propiedad o del área. Y en la reunión de español escuchamos de los participantes que lo que más desean es saber cómo calificar y quién puede ser elegible para habitar estos apartamentos. También escuchamos de los participantes que les gustaría tener áreas de juego seguras para sus hijos y de recreación para las familias. Y en inglés escuchamos, y todavía en español pedimos incorporar espacios comunitarios y guarderías. Y en la reunión en inglés escuchamos que había una fuerte necesidad de proveer estacionamiento adecuado, tanto para los que usan los servicios públicos como para los residentes locales.
Gracias, Jorge. Now we're going to head into the rest of the presentation. If you'd like to join Ricky Pozos and Jorge Mendoza on the Spanish channel, please use the interpretation button at the bottom of the screen and select Spanish and mute the original audio. We are also presenting in English on the off channel. So if you want to stay with Bruce and myself on the English channel, please select off. Also, please remember to mute the original so you don't have any issues. Following the presentations, we'll have a question and answer session. So as you are listening to the presentation, if you have a question, please type it in the chat in either English or Spanish is totally fine. And we'll be pulling questions from the chat for the Q&A later.
Muy bien, ahora en este momento nos vamos a escuchar la charla solo en español. Aquí están las instrucciones de cómo podemos seleccionar el idioma español. Pueden mirar interpretación, que aparece un mundo, y escoger español en su computadora o del teléfono celular, ir a interpretación de lenguajes y escoger el idioma que ustedes prefieran. Les pedimos que por favor silencien el sonido original para que puedan escuchar mejor la conversación. Si tienen alguna pregunta, pueden escribirla en el chat y alguien va a poder ayudarlos.
For anyone just joining us, we are about to enter the phase where we go our separate ways here for a minute. If you want to enter the English channel, select off, and for the Spanish channel, select Spanish. I'll give everyone a couple moments while we get oriented. Okay, so hopefully we are all in the right room. Based on the discussion and the questions that came out of the first meeting, we wanted to make sure we address those questions as best as we can with the time that we have this evening, starting with the topic of housing that is affordable. Because this came up so much in the last meeting, I want to briefly go over some general facts about affordable housing. I think it's important to acknowledge that what is considered affordable for every family looks different, but in traditional affordable housing, the thing to remember is that rent is set at no more than 30% of your annual income. This project is intended to be a Measure A funded project that will provide housing to different income levels. In just a second, I'm going to show you a table on the next page to give you a snapshot of what those incomes look like and the corresponding rents for this project. About a third of the housing will be dedicated to each income category shown here. Many people in the previous meetings asked very specific questions like, how much do I have to make to be eligible to live here? There will be units priced to match each of these income levels. You can see extremely low, very low, and low income. We want to make sure that no one is paying more than a third of their household income. So for each of these income categories on the left table, this is the most you can earn as a household. And on the right-hand side, this is the most rent you would pay, including utilities. Just a quick few examples. If you're a 5-person family and you make less than $51,000, you will not be asked to pay more than about $1,300. If you're a 3-person family and you make less than $100,000, you won't be asked to pay more than approximately $2,500. So the goal is to have a range of incomes. So acknowledging that there were certainly many more questions that were detailed in the last meeting that we're not going to fully go over tonight. People asked really great questions around how do you determine income eligibility? How will seasonal income be counted for eligibility? How will household members who are undocumented be counted? How do I apply for the affordable housing opportunity? So what we did for the sake of time is put together a frequently asked questions document, an FAQ document that one of my teammates will put in the chat for you right now. It's available in both English and Spanish. Next slide. Okay, we're also going to take another moment to take a voluntary poll. Again, this helps us determine if we're reaching a broad audience. This is totally optional and only if you are comfortable. Cliff is going to run that poll for us. We're asking demographic questions. What is your age, average annual household income? Give you a minute to do that. Looks like we have a good mix of folks so far. About 30 more seconds. And thank you all. This really does help us gauge whether or not we've captured a broad audience. So I appreciate your participation. Cliff is going to end the poll. Okay, so in addition, there will be an affordable housing workshop on May 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. as part of Affordable Housing Month. This is something that is hosted by the City of Morgan Hill, Gilroy, and the County of Santa Clara. It'll be on Zoom, and it'll go over some of those questions that are also in the FAQ that we just posted, hopefully. And it will go into more detail around eligibility, income qualifications, and really it's a very great opportunity to educate and prepare yourself for an affordable housing application process, not just for this project, but in general for other affordable housing projects as well. So if you're interested in the application process and what that looks like for affordable projects, it's a really good opportunity to attend. It also happens to be Affordable Housing Month, so we hope we see you there. So tonight, we're not going to have a lot of time to get into anyone's unique individual eligibility household questions. Our primary goal for the time we use in this meeting is to really focus on that design element of the project. We will post the registration link for this event into the chat as well. I'm going to rely on one of my teammates to do that. Okay, so let's move on to parking. This was also a question that came up at the last meeting. What will the parking numbers look like here on this site? So there are currently 471 spaces at the Gilroy Transit Center. Parking spaces used on a typical day in 2019 was about 63%. So VTA had determined that there is an opportunity to build on a portion of the parking area, and the development of the VTA site will also be done in phases. After phase 1 is complete, the affordable phase, 202 parking spaces will remain on the undeveloped portion of VTA's lot until that is developed at a future date. I think I'll mention that again. After phase 1 is complete, the affordable phase, 202 parking spaces will remain on the undeveloped portion of VTA's lot until that is developed at a future date. In addition, phase 1 will incorporate 39 parking spaces for transit users. And then at full build out, High Speed Rail is planning to develop parking on the east side of the station in phases. So now we're going to transition into hearing from Bruce Brubaker from Placeworks, who's going to highlight some of the design concepts and features that we would love your input on, such as open space, building design, street character, and more. So enjoy these concepts. Take it away, Bruce.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks, Jorge. We took input from our first community meetings with the city, with the community of Gilroy, to make 2 concept plans for the site. You will have a chance to discuss these concepts in breakout rooms in a few minutes. The concepts are ideas to help the community think about what they would like to see happen on this site. The results of the workshop will be provided in a report to a future developer to help them understand the community concerns and desires for the site. However, the end result may not look exactly like either of these concepts when it is done. This is an image of the VTA property with the historic station and the parking and bus terminal. There are many future plans for the surroundings of the area, including the city of Gilroy will be doing a downtown specific plan update. There will be new track upgrades for a new rail connection to Monterey County, going to Salinas by TANS, which is sponsored by TAMC. And there will also be a new high-speed rail station, which probably everyone has heard about and thought about. We have considered all of these plans in our thinking about the concepts. This is concept 1, the first concept, which shows an affordable housing project in purple. The building would have about 150 units of housing. It would have parking underneath it. It would be about 5 stories high. The concept shows that there could be some open space and green at the north end of the site. There could be either that open space could be either public space or it may be for residents only. We'd like to hear your opinion about the use of open space on the site and location of open space. The concept also shows a community space or meeting room along Monterey Road. And then this being the first phase, there would be another phase in the future, phase 2, when high-speed rail is done. The station is there. There would be a high-speed rail plaza. There could be market rate housing at the far north end of the site that could be housing above retail on the ground floor. There could be open space in front of the existing station building. And all these things would be envisioned in a future phase of this concept. The second concept that we had was similar. What it shows is this affordable housing project, which with a similar number of units, but in this case, an open space on the south end of the site. Again, that open space could be public open space, or it could be used for community, for the tenants of the building, residents of the building. The community space in this case could be something we heard about in our first meeting, an incubator space for businesses that could help people understand how to create a business. It could be a kitchen incubator. There's different uses that could happen in that site. In a future phase then, this market rate housing would be made possible by actually relocating the historic station building into the front of the high-speed rail station. This is a historic building, so it would need to be carefully done and reviewed to make sure it was appropriate to move it. But if so, it could become the front door of the new high-speed rail station, or the building could be relocated to the side of the station. It could hold restaurant or cafe space. So there's some opportunities there, and that would actually create an opportunity for market rate housing or other kinds of housing on the north side of the site with ground floor retail. And we're showing potentially open space here facing Monterey Road. So this scheme differs from the other scheme in that it has several smaller open spaces.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm just going to mention for anybody who's just joined us, you can select the Spanish channel if you wanted to jump on into the Spanish presentation.
Thanks, Rebecca. This slide shows a comparison of the two concepts. Just to summarize, the top concept one has a larger open space with a plaza and several open spaces associated with it, and housing and development on either side. And the concept down below has a series or a network of open spaces with a smaller plaza in the center and other open spaces on either side. So those were some of the ideas that we wanted to explore in our concepts. And we'd like you to put your thinking hats on tonight and think about these concepts, and to think about design features that we would like your input on. And then this input will be valuable, and it will find its way to VTA and to any developer that comes forward on the site. So it's important to give your input, and we'll be doing that in our breakout rooms in just a few minutes. We want to talk about open space, the size of open space and the use of open spaces on the site, whether it's just that affordable housing site or the entire site. We'd like to talk about high quality building design. What is it that would make this project fit well in the city of Gilroy? And we'd like to talk about ground floor uses, what should be along Monterey Road, what kinds of character it should have there, and what the sidewalk and the street should look like along the frontage of the property. So those are important questions that we'll find out more from you all about.
Thank you, Bruce. Now I'm going to ask Angelica to jump on and read us some questions. Hopefully we've been getting some good questions in the chat. Angelica is going to help us out with that in English and Spanish.
I'm also going to announce that interpretation is going to be ending here. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you repeat that, Rebecca?
Cliff was just saying that the interpretation feature is ending as Angelica is going to return and do the Q&A in both English and Spanish.
Okay, so just want to make sure that we do have the interpretation off before I start.
I believe
It is
so.
off.
Yes, it seems to be on.
Okay, perfect. So the first question that we have is for VTA, and it's on when the project will be constructed. La primera pregunta que tenemos es para VTA y es ¿cuándo se va a construir el proyecto?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jessie O'Malley Solis, and I am the TOD manager for VTA. The question was, when would we be starting construction? When would it be complete? We anticipate that construction for phase 1 or the affordable housing building pad would occur roughly in 2 to 3 years from now and would be complete by 2026.
Ok, Jessie de VTA proyecta que el proyecto se va a construir en fases. Aproximadamente en 2026 es cuando estiman que el proyecto sería completada, pero va a ser en fases, o a lo mejor en 2 o 3 años va a empezar a haber construcción. Okay, so I'll go ahead with the next question. It's about parking, so this is also a question for VTA. How will the lost parking be recovered for future needs? Will parking still be available for Caltrain riders? ¿Cómo se recuperará el estacionamiento perdido para las necesidades en el futuro? ¿Todavía va a haber estacionamiento disponible para los pasajeros de Caltrain?
The question was regarding replacement parking and how would that occur with the project. And so one of the things that Bruce went over earlier was a phasing plan for development on site. We shared some information about the parking utilization pre-COVID, which was from 2019. Roughly 63% of the parking lot was utilized at that time. So there is a little bit of room for movement and playing with the first phase. Should I pause, Angelica?
Yeah, so Bruce explicó cómo va a haber diferentes fases en el proyecto y había un estudio que enseñó que sí hay espacio para, hay suficiente estacionamiento en el momento. And that's all, Jessie, if you want to keep going. Yeah.
So phase 1 or the affordable housing part of the project, its own parking would be self-contained. I think you also saw that approximately 40 of the spaces would be preserved for shared parking with transit as well. Phase 2 and the final phase of the build out would not occur till later, roughly around the time that high-speed rail develops as well. And so at that time, high-speed rail has full replacement of the parking that is on the east side of the property, pardon me, the west side of the property to the east side of the property. VTA will maintain the 78 stalls on our side for transit parking, so it'll be full Caltrain replacement parking.
Thank you. So el apartamento sí va a tener su propio estacionamiento y ya luego cuando porque el proyecto se va a construir en fases, ya luego cuando se construye todo el proyecto va a haber estacionamiento que High Speed Rail va a proporcionar en ese tiempo. Okay, I'll go on to the next question. And that's, this question is for Consuelo. What will be the requirements to apply for one of the low-income units? ¿Cuáles serán los requisitos para una de las unidades de bajos ingresos?
Good evening, everybody. Consuelo Hernandez, Office of Supportive Housing. The requirements for the units will be based on income. So as was indicated earlier in the presentation, we provided some examples based on the AMI levels. There's also requirements in the event that some of the units are designated for people that were previously unhoused. They have requirements that come from our office, so our office will be providing referrals into those units directly.
Thank you, Consuelo. So como dijo Consuelo, para cumplir con los requisitos para una vivienda asequible, existe una cantidad máxima de ingresos que habíamos enseñado antes. Entonces, eso sería como el proceso, pero podemos dar más información sobre eso si tiene más preguntas. And the last question that we have is for VTA. Why aren't we developing the east side of the tracks instead of the Caltrain parking lot? ¿Por qué no estamos desarrollando el lado este de las vías en lugar del estacionamiento de Caltrain?
And the answer to that is VTA does not own the property east of the tracks. That will be future acquisition and purchase by the high-speed rail. There may be transit-oriented development planned there in the future. However, at this point, the side on the western portion of the tracks is a TOD location that our board has approved for development and build out.
Okay, so VTA no es dueño de la propiedad que está alocada al lado este. El dueño va a haber un proceso que el High Speed Rail va a agarrar esa propiedad. Todavía tiene tiempo que pase eso, pero en este punto VTA no es dueño de la propiedad que está en el lado este. That's all we have for now.
Thank you, Angelica. So we are about to go into the breakout rooms for approximately 40 minutes. Again, I know we've talked at you a lot. It's going to be your time to share. Please continue to use the chat as well. I will turn it over to Jorge so he can share.
Sí, ahora vamos a entrar a grupos pequeños donde ustedes siéntanse libres de dar sus opiniones o comentarios. BTA está tomando muy en cuenta todo lo que ustedes digan, así que va a ser el momento de aprovechar. Pregunten o comenten lo más que puedan. Vamos a estar aproximadamente por 40 minutos y va a ser en español.
Gracias, Jorge. Friendly reminders as we enter into discussion. We thank you in advance for being respectful to your fellow community members. Type the questions and comments in the chat. Please remember to mute your audio when you are not speaking.
Este es el modelo para participar en las reuniones. Pedimos que nos tratemos todos con respeto y amabilidad. Respetemos los comentarios y opiniones. Si tiene preguntas y comentarios, ya saben, la mayoría lo está haciendo muy bien. Sigamos escribiendo en los comentarios si es que no respondemos a alguna. Y cuando no estés hablando, por favor, mantener el micrófono apagado. Gracias.
We're going to ask you all to select the breakout room by the letter of your first name. So as you can see on the screen, you should see a tab at the bottom that says breakout room. So for example, English room, if your first name begins with the letter A through I, you'll want to go to room 3, J through R, English, room 4, S through Z, first name, room 5.
Aquí están las instrucciones de cómo podemos entrar. Sabemos que a nosotros nos cuesta un poco la tecnología, pero tratemos con las figuras. Aquí donde está el cuadro rojo, pueden mirar que dice Breakout Rooms. Pues ahí es donde vamos a escoger a qué cuarto vamos a ir. Así que si tu nombre empieza con la letra de la A a la M, vamos a ir a la sala número 1. Si tu nombre empieza con la letra L a la Z, vamos a ir a la sala 2. Si tienen problemas, compártanlo en el chat.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in about 40 minutes. And when we come back together, we'll be asking someone to share the ideas. That may be the moderator or it may be someone in the group, but enjoy your 40 minutes. Use it wisely. Thank you. I'm hoping everyone made it into a breakout room. Cliff, can you tell?
I am monitoring and people are requesting.
Okay.
It looks like there are a few that need help.
Yeah, I've moved them.
I just moved Pat.
Okay, great.
And Rosa is already in room 2.
Okay. Also, all right, Monica is in room 2. Okay, Rosa is pretty well balanced. Room 3 definitely has a lot of people. Chris, I am going to move you to room. Well, I'm going to move you to room 5 because there's a lot of people in room 3. Okay, Dana, I'm going to move you to room 5.
Becky, there's a raised hand.
Oh, there's a couple of people also joined. Hi, Carolyn. Did you have a question?
I can't get in. I can't see anything. I'm on an iPad. I can't. I should be in room 3, I think, with my name.
Yeah, I'm gonna move you to room. There's a lot of people in room 3, so I'm gonna move you to the 4. I'm gonna move you to room 5.
That's fine. Wherever. It doesn't matter. I just couldn't. There's no icon here to get in there. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you so much.
Consuelo, was that the raised hand or?
That was the raised hand. Right?
That was the raised hand. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Consuelo. Hi, Diana. I'm going to move you to room 5. Carol, I'm sorry, I just saw that. You need to get to room 1. I'll move you there. Okay, it seems like there's still a few remainders. Okay. If anyone needs help moving into a room, please let me know.
Up here, okay. Am I in a room yet?
If I hear you, then no. I'm sorry, who is speaking?
I'm Sarah Kelly.
Okay, Sarah. I'm going to move you to room 5.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
There's a Sarah Myers that needs to also be moved, I believe.
Susan Myers?
Susan Myers, yeah.
Okay, I will move. I guess I'll just move.
Is that correct, Susan?
Yes.
Okay.
I should be in room 5 too.
I'm going to move you to room 5. Thank you, Susan.
Okay, thank you.
I just got a request to join breakout room 1.
I see an Andrew Heron and a Celeste Fiore.
Yeah, I see the first 3 names. Andrew Heron, do you need help moving? If not, I think I will just move you. Andrew, I'm going to move you to, I believe, room 4. Hope that is okay. Now look at Rodriguez. Are you there? Celeste, are you there? Oh, I guess they can't. If you need to move into room, please type into the chat. Let me see. Jolene, do you have the power to move people?
I don't. Only
I do.
the waiting room.
All right.
Looks like I
Oh
do.
yeah, you can move people. Okay. I'm gonna step into breakout room 1 for a second. I don't know why. I'm just gonna go there. I'm just actually gonna go through the rooms.
Okay. Hopefully I can figure out how to do it, but it looks pretty easy. Hopefully everyone has found a breakout room by now. Please let me know if you have not. I think, Jolene, it looks like there's
about 5.
they probably just maybe stepped away for a minute.
I'm going to go turn some background lights on.
Okay.
I need a background light. It's really dark.
Oh, the world we live in now.
Rebecca, I just admitted Carol Marquez. I think she needs to be put in a room.
Okay.
Spanish speaking room. So could I have an English speaking room, please?
Yes, ma'am, for sure.
Thanks. Sorry.
No problem. Looks like I have Ariana Orozco. See if I can unmute her. Can you unmute Ariana?
Who is that?
Ariana Orozco. I just want to see if she wants to enter a breakout room.
Ariana, do you want to enter a breakout room?
How much longer do you guys have? Oh, I see it on 27 minutes. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Ariana, do you have a preference of English or Spanish breakout room?
English would be good, thank you.
Okay, I'm transferring you now. Let's check with Danielle Arvanitis.
Okay, I'll ask her to unmute.
Hi, Danielle, can you hear us?
She must have stepped away.
Yeah. I think I'm going to make a cup of tea because it's just Consuelo.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
No problem.
Thanks. Jolene, how many folks do we have on total?
Right now I can't tell.
Oh, because it's, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. I can look there.
I think it was 75 at the highest.
Okay. So Jolene, the timer here is the breakout timer, right? 17 more minutes.
We're just trying to figure out how long that will take in the meeting.
Okay. 7.
Rebecca,
Yes, ma'am.
we have somebody that just joined us again.
Okay.
John Kelly, can you assign to a breakout room?
Yes. John Kelly, English breakout room. Looks like.
Did you want to go to an English breakout?
Sorry, I just assigned him. I should have waited. Fast fingers over here.
I can't hear you. Hold on. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Great. Sorry, I had technical problems on my end, so I had to close out and come back in. I was in with Carolyn Tegnati.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
thank you.
I will move.
Join. Okay. Find my cursor.
I'm looking for Carol Tegnati. Oh, you moved her already?
Did you?
I did not. She probably found it.
Yeah. Do you have the ability to announce to the breakout rooms?
I do.
Do you want to do a 10-minute?
Yep.
Oh. Tech just did that too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they're just closing breakout rooms.
Okay.
Okay, everyone should be trickling back in. It's about a minute timer set.
You are a magician, Cliff.
I'm just hitting buttons.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to give it a couple seconds while folks trickle back into the main room.
Cliff, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. Once Bruce is back, I will ask him to put this slideshow back up. Hi, Bruce. Hope you're back. I'm going, when you're ready, just put back on the slideshow. It'll take a couple minutes for everyone to.
Welcome back, everyone. We're giving it a couple more seconds while folks rejoin us. And Jolene, you can just let me know when you feel like most of the folks are back in the room.
Solo estamos esperando que todos regresen para continuar.
Well, I think everyone should be back now. The rooms are fully closed.
Great. I hope you all had some time to share and really participate in that session. So now we're going to do a report back. I'm going to just call on each group and ask whoever is speaking to share some of the highlights that came out of the discussion. So we'll start with group 1.
Bueno, antes de empezar, muchas gracias a todos ustedes. Nuestra charla se puso muy, muy buena e interesante. Hubo muy buena participación. Ahora vamos a dar un pequeño reporte y vamos a empezar por grupos.
Okay, Rebecca, who should we start with?
I would just start with group number 1, which is one of the Spanish speaking groups.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is group one of the first Spanish ones?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't worry. I'll go ahead. I think we were group 1 in the Spanish room.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and start in English and then I'll say it in Spanish. So we had some really good conversation in there. I think we came to a lot of agreement on some of the options that we saw. I think in general, everyone liked option A of the scenarios that we were looking at as a group. We heard a lot of taking advantage of any open space that's available around or within the buildings to include trees, whether it be street trees or between the building or in the open space, just implement trees, use recycled materials to build some of the amenities that are on the site, and where possible, some solar panels as well. That would be something to keep in mind while developing the site. Also something we heard that I hadn't heard in another meeting also was to add some gates in the open space for kids to be safe. Some of the parents might not feel safe if the open space leads to the street, given that the area is surrounded by a lot of transit, whether it be the buses, Caltrain, or just general traffic. If it's open space to the public, kids can run out. So some form of gate that doesn't block it off from public access if it is a public amenity, but so parents feel safe. Also, a lot of people really like the Spanish revival architecture for the site. They said they feel like it complements the surrounding buildings. And also something we heard before, some type of like recreational center, whether it can be like a YMCA or a gym or a rec center for parents to relax and kids to to play and be safe, and also a lot of lighting, more lighting as well. So that sums up real quick what we discussed.
Ricky, you need to say that again in Spanish, right?
Sorry. My bad. Sí, unas cosas que escuchamos en nuestro grupo, una charla muy fructosa, ¿verdad? De las opciones A y B, creo que nos gustó a todos más la opción A del diseño. Queríamos ver más árboles, no solamente en la calle, pero si hay espacio adentro del edificio o entre el edificio, agregar más árboles. Usar materiales reciclados para algunas de las amenidades que construyan, y también, si es posible, incluir paneles solares para que sea un poquito más ecológico el diseño del edificio, y también proveer como unas rejas para el espacio donde va a estar abierto, si es enfrente de la calle, para que los niños no puedan echarse a correr directamente hacia el tráfico. Sabemos que hay mucho tránsito y carros y mucho movimiento alrededor de esta área, entonces donde se pueda los niños jugar, no nada más los residentes, pero el público, pero que estén seguros. Entonces, un tipo de reja. También a todos les gustó mucho el diseño de español, Renacimiento español, porque creen que complementa el diseño de arquitectura alrededor de Gilroy. Y también un centro recreacional, no nada más para los hijos, pero también para los padres. Puede ser un YMCA o otro tipo de gimnasio así para la comunidad. Y en general más luz, más alumbrado en la calle, no nada más se ve bonito, pero hace la área más segura.
Thank you, Ricky. So I'm just going to go in order here and go for breakout room number 2, Cuarta dos. This is the Spanish speaking room as well, L through C. I think this may be Angelica.
So that would be our group, and our group would really like to see kind of a bigger open space area. They would also like for the project to provide, instead of picking one use, a variety of uses on the first floor. So including a community room, a space for daycare, and also providing a space that's an incubator space so that small businesses have a place where they can start their business. And then as far as the street character design, they would like to see wider sidewalks, but they also would like for there to be enough trees and landscaping provided to provide shading for any of the amenities that are available on the sidewalk. And they would also like to see sufficient lighting for security reasons, as well as public art and bicycle routes, and also just finding a way to design the units in the project to provide privacy for the family. So I'll go ahead and say that in Spanish. Voy a decir el reporte de nuestro grupo en español. Nuestro grupo les gustaría ver un espacio verde y también que en el primer piso hay que ver varios usos, incluyendo sala comunitaria, un lugar para los niños, para que cuiden los niños, también un jardín comunitario, lugar para negocio, y también les gustaría ver sobre el carácter de la calle, aceras más anchas, árboles y carriles de bicicleta, lámparas, también bancos y asientos y arte público. Y también encontrar manera de diseñar las unidades para que haya privacidad para las familias. That's it.
Thank you, Angelica. Now we'll jump to breakout room number 3. This was an English speaking room. It looks like this was a large group.
Andrew, do you want to do that report back, or do you want me to do it? We didn't really specify in the end. You're on mute.
There you go. Thank you. I am happy to report back.
Great.
So we had, as it relates to the size and the use of the space, there certainly was a desire to have large gathering spaces downtown, and it wasn't seen that that currently existed, and there were multiple uses for that. As far as the size related to it, large for the bigger events, but there also was some voices for smaller, and some of the voices also said, what if we had more of a flex space that could go from small to large, so you could have the capacity for larger gatherings, be it food trucks, be it farmers markets, but you could scale back in some extent to a smaller space as well. So kind of toggling back and forth in the flexibility. And then as far as design style, there was a strong preference for the train station, inspiring whatever the design was. And then lastly, there were voices as it relates to the ground floor use, in that being classroom use for students and a blending of the classroom use with the community space. Those are the primary themes that we saw in our group. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Does anybody want to take a stab at translating some of that?
That was a lot to take in.
I think, Ricky, one of the things I heard that was actually unique was the idea of having a space that could be shrunk down or made larger.
Algo que escuchamos del grupo uno de inglés es algo cómo poder usar el espacio más eficientemente. Algo. What was the last part you said, Rebecca?
Oh, I think it was a community space that Andrew was referring to.
Un espacio comunitario, como escuchamos en los otros grupos. Entonces creo que se escucha un interés en general en toda la audiencia, cómo usar el espacio no nada más para los residentes, pero para la comunidad en general.
Thank you, Ricky. Okay, now we will go to room 4.
This is Jessie. I'm going to report back on room 4. I'm going to take a space after everything I say. And Angelica, would you be willing to translate after each space?
Sounds great.
Okay. In our group, we had a bit of a preference for smaller, more intimate open space. There was discussion about having both.
En el grupo de Jessie había preferencia para tener un espacio verde que sea más pequeño.
And uses that people preferred in our group were play spaces for the children that were safe, community garden, places to sit, and places with greenery and nature.
Y los usos preferidos en este grupo eran lugares para jugar, jardín comunitario, también tener espacios verdes.
Building styles and architecture that people preferred were Spanish Revival and Mediterranean. People felt like that most reflected the historic nature and styles of downtown.
Y el estilo del edificio que era preferido era mediterráneo y también renacimiento español.
People wanted to make sure that there was no fortress, that there was visibility into the private open space in the buildings. And that balconies would not be used for storage areas.
Las personas querían ver que el edificio se pueda ver, que haya visibilidad y también que los balcones sean seguros.
Ground floor uses and activation, people were interested in a community space or nonprofit space. People liked the incubator idea and the community room and amenity space and retail shops. Or sorry, no more retail shops.
Y en el primer piso les gustaría ver una sala comunitaria, lugar incubadora, pero no les gustaría ver más tiendas.
And then people agreed that trees and landscaping would be nice. There were several people who really liked all of the improvements: crosswalks, bicycle lanes, landscaping, sidewalk, benches, and public art and lighting. And there was discussion about the need for this development to catalyze improvement in the surrounding neighborhood.
Y las personas también les gustaría ver aceras más anchas, árboles, y también hablaron sobre la necesidad de que este proyecto cause que la área se mejore en el lugar, no nomás necesariamente el área del proyecto, pero también alrededor.
That's it from our group.
Thank you, Jessie. Thank you, Angelica. And then now we will turn to Jessica, who's going to give us a report out from breakout room number 5. And then Ricky, I'm sorry, I'll end with you because I know there's some comments in the chat you want to interpret.
Okay, last but not least, breakout room number 5. So on the first topic, our group preferred a larger open space that would be an extension of downtown and our public spaces. And, it was important for our group to have that open space because there's some flexibility and it can be divided better.
Thank you, Jessica. Does anybody want to take a stab at interpreting that?
I can go ahead. En este grupo les gustaría ver un espacio verde que sea más grande y también que sirva como una extensión del centro de la ciudad.
In the types of amenities within the open space, our group really liked the collage, and they said, most people said all of the above. We had someone mention that it would make it might be nice to bring in a water feature because it can get pretty hot in Gilroy. And someone else mentioned the need for maybe a community navigation, especially for people who may be experiencing trauma, to have access to services and know where to go.
Okay. Y en este grupo, los tipos de amenidades que les gustaría ver, básicamente les gustaría ver a todas las amenidades, pero también alguien mencionó tener un lugar que tenga como agua cuando esté caliente. And I missed the part that you mentioned about the space where someone can come and gather. Can you repeat that, Jessica?
Sure, that it might be good to have some sort of community navigation for people who are experiencing trauma to be able to access and know where to go for the services in Gilroy.
Okay, también el grupo dijo que sería bueno para tener un lugar donde si alguien tiene trauma pueden comunicarse con ellos y para ver dónde es lo que tienen, dónde pueden ir si tienen si necesitan esos tipos de servicios.
In terms of architecture, people really liked the Spanish and the Mediterranean designs, and we learned a new term in our group called articulation, which means, balconies, bay windows, design features that break up and make the building interesting.
Y las personas les gustaría ver relanzamiento español como el estilo arquitectura, también mediterráneo. Y también hablaron sobre diferentes maneras donde puede haber como ventanas y otros estilos en el edificio.
In terms of the ground floor uses and design, our group thought it would make sense to keep the retail and the offices uses on Monterey, if retail works, and leave residential building entrances on the side streets. And, we had a lot of talk about incubator space, maybe social entrepreneur centers where people could participate and work in the facilities to learn job skills, maybe a welcome center for Gilroy folks getting off the train. There were some really great ideas.
Entonces, para el primer uso, ellos querían ver tiendas en la calle Monterey, pero también hablaron sobre tener como una incubadora o diferentes tipos de usos y tenían diferentes ideas sobre esto.
And Jessica, can I just add in, I want to acknowledge that a couple of our group participants were still concerned with parking supply and wanted to make sure that residents and the public were still going to have adequate parking.
Y una de las otras cosas que hablaron en este grupo es que hay personas que todavía tienen preocupación sobre estacionamiento y cómo va a haber estacionamiento para el proyecto y también para el tren.
Thank you, group number 5. Is that it for group 5?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on. We have a few polls that we'd like to do, specifically on open space, building design, and street character. Cliff is about to launch these polls. Bruce is going to take us through these polls.
Rebecca, before we start, did you say that Ricky had a couple of things from the chat to mention?
Thank you, Bruce. Yes, I think I saw, yeah.
I think someone covered it in Jessica's group. It was just about the water features. I hadn't heard that in any of the past meetings or just chit chat in the chats, and that was very new to me. So I thought it was really cool, but Jessica mentioned it. De lo que iba a mencionar hace rato es algo que no había escuchado en otras juntas y lo mencionó Jessica en su grupo también, que fue en los tipos de estructuras de agua donde se puedan usar para los niños cuando hace mucho calor. Entonces es algo nuevo que creo que escuchamos en esta junta. Y muy buena idea.
Thanks, Ricky. Thanks, Rebecca.
Muy bien, ahora todos en los dos grupos vamos a mirar de nuevo las imágenes y vamos a contestar unas encuestas. Son las fotos que ya miramos, pero ahora entre todos vamos a tratar de elegir qué diseño nos gustaría. Así que por favor pónganse listos.
Thanks, everyone. Stay with us. We are almost done in just a couple of minutes.
Am I launching the poll now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
We're going to do 3 polls, one for open space, one for design, and one for ground floor use. And we'd like everyone to participate in this. We're asking you to choose between options. The first one is about larger space or several smaller spaces. You can choose one of those. The second part of this, go ahead, Jorge.
En esta primera parte, ustedes van a escoger el que más les guste. Se pueden fijar que está en inglés y después en español. Pueden leer una por una y no se les olvide bajar hacia abajo para que miren todas las preguntas. Gracias, Bruce.
Yeah. And then there's a second question, which is what kind of features you would like to see, and you can choose multiple ones of that.
La segunda es qué les gustaría ver en espacio abierto. Ya miramos y al mismo tiempo vayan aprovechando para ir viendo los resultados.
We'd like to get good input from everyone if possible, but it will not be our only input because we heard many great things in our groups. So we will also be recording those comments in the breakout rooms as well as this poll.
We'll give it another 30 seconds.
En la parte de arriba de su pantalla pueden mirar el tiempo para que traten de contestar con calma.
So Cliff, this is the result now. Is that correct? Thank you all for voting on this one. We'll have another poll in a second. We'll just mention that it seems like by a small majority, the people like the larger plaza. And it seems like space for plants and nature were, won the most preferences in the other poll, although there's votes for all of those different aspects. So thank you for that. Cliff, do you want to start our next poll? And I will go to the next slide. This is about high quality building and design. The first one is how would you like the building to look? And you can ask for courtyards or stepping back the top floor or having balconies.
Jorge, creo que está en mute usted. No lo estamos escuchando.
Tenemos esta otra encuesta donde nos preguntan, número 1, ¿cómo te gustaría que se viera el edificio? Escoge uno. Y la segunda pregunta, ¿Qué estilo te imaginas que sea este edificio?
Give it about 20 more seconds.
Al mismo tiempo pueden ir viendo los resultados de sus elecciones.
It seems that the result is that most people preferred that the top floors be stepped back, but other design issues got votes as well. And overwhelmingly, we have Spanish Revival as a preference for the style of building. So I think that is reinforced by what we heard in the report back as well.
La mayoría, entre todos nosotros, parece que escogimos en la primera que nos gustaría con los pisos superiores retrocedidos y el estilo de renacimiento español.
Okay. Next poll and the last poll will be regarding ground floor uses. And what should happen there? And you can choose two of these. It includes meeting space, business incubator, amenity space, and there's photographs behind the poll to look at for that question. And then the second part is, what kind of improvements would you like to see on the street?
En esta última encuesta nos preguntan, para el uso del primer piso en los nuevos edificios, ¿qué te gustaría ver? Puedes escoger dos respuestas. Y en la segunda pregunta, ¿qué tipos de mejoras le gustaría ver para las calles y aceras enfrente de los edificios? También puedes elegir dos.
About 20 seconds more.
Okay. We had a lot of people like to see community spaces, such as meeting or health services. And it's interesting to me that few people wanted to see retail shops there. But other spaces like amenity spaces also received a lot of votes. And then the other part of the poll indicated that trees and landscaping are favored among the people in this workshop. So thank you for weighing in on this. This is useful.
La mayoría de nosotros, como pueden ver, escogimos espacios comunitarios como espacios para reuniones o servicios de salud. Y en la segunda, todos pedimos más árboles y paisajes.
Okay, well, thank you for this, and thank you for taking the poll. Rebecca, I believe our next step would be to talk about the schedule and next steps, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yep, we're wrapping it up here in 60 seconds. So VTA, just to give you a schedule and a timeline, will prepare a report on the final concept plan based on your feedback from both the first meeting, this meeting, and other ways in which they've collected feedback. Hopefully you all are signed up on the project website. VTA, as I mentioned earlier, has their own board. So they will go to their own board to authorize a request for proposals and select a developer by fall of 2021. Phase 1 construction is expected to begin in 2024.
Oh, sorry, that is to be completed in 2024.
I'm sorry. To be
My
complete-
bad, actually. I did this slide.
That's okay. Phase 1 construction to be completed in 2024. Okay.
Oh, Jorge.
Ya la cambió. Pero miren, todo esto que nosotros hablamos, BTA va a preparar el plan de todos nuestros conceptos, todo basado en nuestros comentarios. Estamos muy contentos con ustedes. BTA va a tener otra junta en junio del 2021 y quizás vamos a tener más información. Aunque claro, en las páginas ellos van a seguir poniendo cómo es que vamos con este proyecto.
Okay, we're going to end here. Thank you all. Please stay involved. There's going to be more opportunities for community meetings after a developer is selected. Please stay updated by checking out the VTA website. The presentation from tonight will also be posted on the website. VTA has offered to go to your neighborhood or local group to do a presentation, so please let us know if you'd like that. community.outreach@vta.org. Hopefully somebody can type that in the chat as well. I would encourage all of you to sign up to the mailing list. This is www.vta.org/Gilroy Development. This is really how you're going to stay informed.
Miren, vamos a continuar. Les pedimos que se mantengan informados y en comunicación con nosotros y con VTA. Va a haber muchas oportunidades y reuniones donde usted puede seguir participando para que esté al tanto de cada acción que VTA está tomando. En nuestro calendario local siempre se va a estar publicando la información y haciendo la invitación a las siguientes reuniones. Y si no, puede entrar a community.outreach@vta.org y ahí vamos a encontrar todo lo que necesitamos saber.
Thank you all very, very much for coming. It's so important that you're engaged and we really appreciate it. I want to thank VTA and the County of Santa Clara Office of Supportive Housing for asking Gilroy residents and business owners and everyone what we would like to see. So we'll definitely be staying engaged with you and thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Hemos llegado al final de nuestra charla. Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo valioso. Muchas gracias por sus opiniones y comentarios. Todas ellas van a ser tomadas en cuenta para la elaboración de este proyecto que tiene VTA y que aliviará la falta de vivienda para muchas familias en Gilroy. Muchísimas gracias y buenas noches.
Good night, everyone.